Hey everyone, welcome to iRetire4Him. For the month of February, Bruce and I thought it would be fun to bring in 4 incredible interviews of people living out their faith in their retirement. Today, Bruce and I will talk with LD Buckingham, who's really excited to talk with you about doing something purposeful with your retirement years. And then we're going to talk with Phil Burks, who's going to share his story not of being retired, but of being reassigned. Both of these men really get it, that retirement isn't when it's all over. It is a new stage in life where both LD and Phil understand their positions as fully funded missionaries released with new assignments. I hope you enjoy hearing from these two men. Hey, remember to check us out online, retirementreformation.org, or on Facebook, Retirement Reformation. Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him. Bruce, as we always do in the second segment of every podcast, you bring on a special guest in order to just hear what they're doing in their retirement. Bruce, who do you have for us today?
Well, today we have Dr. Buckingham, and we have reached north in this conversation up into Canada. And I was introduced to Dr. Buckingham and a little bit of his history through an associate of mine here, Elliot Ennis. And so, Dr. Buckingham, welcome to the podcast. Give us just a brief overview of how God has led you to this stage of your life.
Well, I pastored the same church for 45 years, took a little tiny church, 65 people, and saw it grow to around a couple of thousand, which is huge for this part of the world. For many parts of the world, it's really not that big a deal. And I'm enjoying this stage of life in every way you could possibly enjoy it to the fullest. People will talk to me about this stage of life, and I say, look, this is not so bad. The kids are gone, the bills are paid, and the dog is dead. And so we're having a great time. And I never felt better in my life. I'm 82 years old. Never felt better in every way that you can feel good, mentally, physically, and every other way. But I'll tell you what, it's all to do with purpose. And I have people saying to me all the time, how are you enjoying retirement? Well, my answer is the best way to enjoy retirement is not to retire, because life is not about pleasure. Life is about purpose. And when you have a purpose that you have a passion for, that is your pleasure. So I'm the happiest guy on the face of the earth because of my purpose.
Well, between your forehead and mine, we can represent the fact, and Jim's, as a matter of fact. I always get a little bit concerned when I'm reading in Scripture and that God knows every hair on your head, and I'm thinking, God, he must be in a bit of a confusion right at the moment. But then he's never confused.
Right.
We know that the term retirement is not in the Bible, and that having meaning and purpose. Matter of fact, we say in the Retirement Reformation that we are called to be faithful for a lifetime. Yeah. And that lifetime isn't over until it's over, and then we begin a great lifetime for eternity. So what are some of the kinds of things that you're doing now that when you put your feet on the floor in the morning and you think about the day, that encourages you?
Well, I would say this, to give a little bit of background. A leader, as you know, has got to be a learner. And the truth of the matter is, I have come to realize I've got to be working harder at learning today and have a greater curiosity today than ever before in my life, because I've got to unlearn a lot of things that no longer work in today's culture and relearn what connects with the culture, speaks the language of the culture. And one of my highest values is change. And I know that's not often the case with people my stage in life, but I value change because of what change can produce, as long as it is change without compromise of, the main message that needs to be propagated and so on. And so I am fully involved and engaged in what's called the Buckingham Leadership Institute, which is mentoring pastors, leadership conferences, church consultations, helping churches go on to the next level, and doing all that I can in relation to all of that.
When we connect with people who have gone through the transition from that first, what we'll call career, into the second, second calling, that transition period is really for many people a very hard one. Yep. One that they're really not connected, that God really has a plan for the rest of their life. Did you have any challenges when you stepped out of the pulpit after those 45 years and into
I was hired Yeah, I was tired and I didn't know I was tired because I'd evolved into being tired. So I took about a month and just did nothing. And some people would say, well, how are you doing? I said, look, if I was doing any less, I'd be dead, But that was all I needed was a month. And that would do me a lifetime. And so I wanted to get back into it because of the fire that was burning, the vision that was burning, the cause that was so important to me, my calling really, which was a major factor. But here's an interesting thing. I got reflecting on this whole thing. After retirement age, I'm talking after retirement age, I was still pastoring the church. We saw more happen after retirement age than all the years prior to retirement age. I mean, we built a 2,000-seat auditorium with a 1,500 space atrium and saw more baptisms, more lives transformed, saw greater growth, and all that is important to seeing things go forward. And so there's something to be said, I think, for experience as long as we are innovative, we are creative, we are open to change, and then we can be, I think, continue to be just as effective. And in fact, there's some ways that I can be more effective today than ever before because I am speaking to churches that have missed generation after generation. So you got a lot of older people, and I talk the way a 30-year-old talks about a lot of stuff, and they kind of have to take it from me. They look at the 30-year-old and say, he's wet behind the ears. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but they can't. And I say to them, what I'm talking about here could be, even though you may not necessarily be all that excited about it, could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the truth of the matter is, I was truly around when they first started slicing bread. And that was a big deal. I mean, people went berserk. They were so excited about sliced bread. Now, I know it doesn't mean a whole lot to us now because we're used to it. But innovative and change can be the most exciting thing that can help people to have expectation, anticipation, and energy, about going forward.
It's definitely, it's the energy comes from a passion, and the passion comes from purpose, and purpose comes from meaning. And when you pile those together, it definitely can be the most. One of the things that is really tragic and that you and I, need to continue to pray for and speak into is that there's between Canada and the U.S., there's probably around 45 million Christ followers who are 65 and older. And about 85% of them, based upon our surveys, when we ask them, what are you going to do in retirement, come up with some version of nothing. And they're trying to make meaning out of leisure. Now, leisure has some value, but it does not have meaning. And we also know that loneliness is leading to all kinds of negative reactions of people these age. Yeah. Speak into that for just a moment, if you would.
Well, I heard about a guy that was fully retired, and his wife said to him, what are you going to be doing? What are you doing tomorrow? He said, nothing. She said, that's what you did today. He said, yeah, but I'm not finished yet. That doesn't have much appeal to me. I can't get that excited about nothing, And I think that everybody, even if you've had a dull, terrible job, you can find something to do that you can have a passion for. It may not be in relation to whatever job you had. And I knew before I finished at the church, I was going to need to continue to fulfill my call with everything I could put into it. And I'm telling you, there's just no way under the sun that things could be more fulfilling by doing nothing. That's no life. You may as well be dead.
When you're doing nothing, your focus is inward upon yourself. And when we focus on ourselves, that's not where we find meaning and purpose. God's calling us to love our neighbor. God's calling us to extend the capacities that He's given us to address the issues of the poor and the widows and all of the scripture that lays that out for us. I think there's a picture there for us, but that we often miss. And so being a messenger of that picture is something that you're doing well, and we appreciate.
You probably focused on this a lot, but one of my greatest heroes in the Bible is old Caleb, and I just love his spirit. I am as strong today when he was 85 years old as I was 45 years ago. And so as you look at Caleb, it really is so interesting. He had a faith that no matter how old he got, did not waver. He had a strength, no matter how old he got, that did not weaken. And then he had a blessing for others that didn't get wasted. And to me, that is one great example for all of us.
Doctor, I'm going to close our conversation with that great summary. As a matter of fact, what I'm committed to doing is I will memorize that. The first 2 times I use it, I will give you credit. The third, it's mine, just so that you know.
Well, let me tell you this. The guy that I stole it from didn't seem to mind.
Well, God bless you. I'm so thankful that we've had an opportunity to meet, and we look forward to meeting again and being able to partner together in making a difference for those who can make a difference. So thank you.
Great.
Dr. L.D. Buckingham, thanks for being on iRetire4Him today. We'll be right back with more conversation with Bruce and I talking about iRetire4Him. We'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
So good to hear those words of encouragement from LD. He's such an inspiration. Now let's hear from Phil Burks as he shares his story of not retiring, but being reassigned. Hey, welcome back to iRetire4Him. Of course, every second segment of every show, we always bring in somebody who's living out their faith in their quote-unquote retirement years. Bruce, who do you have for us today?
Well, today we journey down to Tyler, Texas, and in a beautiful corner office with a gorgeous background. And every time I've been in Tyler, I've always been impressed because I always think of Texas as, flat, and then Tyler is definitely not that in any shape, manner, or form. So at the Retirement Reformation, our goal is to awaken the 48 million Christ followers to be able to discover what it is that God is calling them to do during these years that we call retirement, but in fact are not, as we're called to be faithful for a lifetime. So our guest today is Phil Burks. Phil, we're so glad that you're here, and I'm anxious to hear the journey and the executive summary of the journey that God is taking you, and maybe where you are now and where, in fact, it's going over the next period of years. As I think you probably just passed your 39th birthday.
Very well put. Thanks, Bruce. It's my pleasure to be with you guys, and I love what you're doing for the kingdom. This is exciting because there's so many people that get to this age and they go, "What now?" You've got Bob Buford, who is from Tyler, Texas, who wrote Halftime, and in fact, his office, I could throw a rock at it, was right through the woods from my office when he was very active. And let's talk about the word retirement. I actually don't use the word retirement. I use reassignment. I think God has a different assignment for me right now. And we were talking with a bunch of missionaries that are here located in East Texas who are, to use the air quotes, retired from being on the field. And we are putting together a support group for them. And for lack of a better term, we're calling it Reassigned Missionaries Care Ministry. And because, again, like you said very well, we don't end, we just do different things. And to answer your question, Bruce, as best I can, God, the short story about my life is after I graduated from LeTourneau University, wearing the colors today, I felt very strongly called to be a full-time missionary. I hit all the altar calls, hit my knees, and I said, I'm your guy. First place I applied was Moody Broadcasting to be with their broadcasting network throughout the world, actually. And I flew to Washington State, did the interview, got the letter that says, "Dear Phil, you're not our guy." I went, "What? I don't get that. Hey, I'm your guy." Well, I spent 2 years being angry at God. Then I finally shut up long enough to hear him say, "Phil, I'm calling you to send, not to go." Oh, you mean like R.G. Letourneau did? Yes, like that. So I've spent a lifetime being an entrepreneur and using what God has loaned us through financial and intelligence and everything else to build a software company. It's a global software company. I am at retirement. I have a deal in place to, or reassignment. I'm using my own word wrongly, aren't I? To be able to go off and do some other things. What God's called me to at this section of my life, guys, is He's called me to take the mistakes that I've made, to take all of the learning that I've done throughout the years, and He's allowed me to do, and put it into the young minds of young entrepreneurs, to tell them, here's some thoughts. You're discouraged. You're allowed to be discouraged. Job was discouraged. Job was down, but he never quit. And it's that message that I'm trying to pour into the younger minds, as well as some guys and gals that are in their 50s who feel stagnated. They're just stuck in an area and they want to do something further with their life. And, God allows me the privilege of pouring into them to give them some ideas of what they can do. So that's a real short Reader's Digest version of it.
Well, I love that. What God is, the journey that God has you on, and it's a long ways from being done, but it is an ongoing journey. One of the things that we have learned, and I would appreciate, is that there are others who have similar experiences to yours that would love to hear your story and to be able to bring them together to be able to expand the geography, if you wish, of the messaging. The working with retired missionaries, God's blessed me to have, visited missionaries in 107 countries, and to realize the challenges that they have when they are transitioning. It's like pastors, and you've seen them.
Yeah.
So as we go, if you were to have one thought, Phil, for someone who is at a point of transition, what would be that thought that you would leave with them?
Well, the first thing that hits me, Bruce, is don't stop. Pausing is okay, but don't stop. I have a very good friend who said he's got it planned out. He says, I am taking 4 months to spend time with my wife, who I did not spend time with. And I'm going to take the first 4 months to do that because I neglected her for so long. And that's a whole other topic that we can all talk about in business.
Sure.
But he says, I'm going to do that. We're going to travel the world. We're going to see, because I don't know what tomorrow God's got for me for tomorrow. And then I'm going to do, and he's going to do something similar to what I'm doing. And mine is more organic, guys. It's more as it comes up. I've got one of the black chairs that's right behind me is for lack of a better term, a business counseling chair. I get a lot of these guys and gals that come in. So I would say, pause is okay, but just don't quit, because I got a retired missionary friend, again, using the wrong R word there, named Bernie May. Bernie was head of Wycliffe. He was president of Wycliffe. He was president of John.
I know Bernie.
Started Sini. All right. And honestly, Bruce, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Bernie May and his family, because his family and he introduced my mom and dad to each other at Marcus Hook Baptist Church outside of Philadelphia. Thus, the rest of the story, so to speak. But Bernie loves to tell a story that he gets back and goes back out of the way and gets with God for every 10 years. What are you going to do this next 10 years of my life, God? What are you going to do the next? God works in 10-year chunks with him. And he is now 91, 92 years old, and just started a Beyond Bees operation. So don't stop is my number one thing I would say.
Well, I think the reflection of that is that, God never stops in his love for us, and he never stops in the preparation that he has made and the plans that he have for us that started before time began. Amen. And that for us to be able to continue. And so I just really am encouraged by your story, and let me encourage you in what you're doing. And let's take a look at the Retirement Reformation and see if there's some things that perhaps we can do together. And
I love it.
There's only about 48 million of us that are in that retirement age of say 60 to 104. And there's a lot of opportunities and needs. There's a lot of people that have stopped and need to hear the message of don't stop, keep moving, and God has a plan. So,
Amen.
Phil, just such a pleasure to meet you, and I'll look forward to some additional conversations. And see if you can hold on to that corner office. That's a pretty nice deal there. Jim, are there any questions that you have in conclusion?
No, I love what you're saying, Phil. But I think I'd like to make a suggestion on your LinkedIn. I think you've got that R word in your LinkedIn profile. It says in the process of retirement. I'm thinking you need to change it to say in the process of reassignment. You're listening to iRetire4Him. Hope you enjoyed these 2 retirement testimonies today. I know I did. It was great to be reminded of how God is not done with us. As long as we're alive, we still have purpose. That when we retire, our calling didn't retire. And if we have a pulse, we have a purpose. Thanks for listening to iRetire4Him, the voice and resource of the retirement reformation. Online at retirementreformation.org.